Okay, welcome to Satsang. Today we're going to be talking about a law that very few people are aware of, but somehow is responsible for our crazy behavior at times, or how we contradict the very things we want. In fact, this law states that we resist the very thing we want most, which of course is love. So this law is called the law of reversed effort. How many of you have heard of it? No way? Okay, that should be interesting. Let me give you an example, the law of reversed effort. What is it that we want more than anything? It is love, isn't it? So picture a couple, a married couple. They're very much in love. They're very happy. But one day, an issue arises in which they don't agree. So they debate, they discuss it. After a while, it gets a little heated because they don't see eye to eye on the situation. Before you know it, they start an argument. After the argument, because nobody seems to want the other one to win, and remember, this is the law of reversed effort, okay? What happens is that they part ways, and they're both not in a very happy mood, right? When you part with someone you love, it's a very miserable time. So what is missing here is that the one thing they wanted most is to feel loved and to love, right? But yet they received the opposite. Okay, why is that? We're going to understand it because we're going to get it deeper. See, when we were kids, we might not have received the kind of love we always wanted. Attention, appreciation, warmth, being hugged, told you are loved and I love you. And so what happens later on, subconsciously, I'm a hypnotherapist and I've done it for 35 years, so I'm very much well versed with behavior patterns, okay? So what happens is that when you're brought up this way, especially the first 6 years of life, is that you have to have your own way. You become controlling. In fact, your need to be right supersedes even the love you'd like to have. You've got to have your own way. So this is one of those needs that unless we become aware of it, it can really cause a lot of chaos in our life. But we'll go a little deeper into that, the law of reversed effort, because there are many paradoxes in truth. There are many confusions, you see. So anyway, we'll go a little deeper as we go along. Another example which comes to mind is you do something that you regret. So what happens when you feel regretful that you've committed a certain act? Maybe you hurt someone. Instead of asking for forgiveness, or you forgive them, or you forgive yourself, you feel guilty. Now you might say, but I didn't try to feel guilty. No, it just happens. You see? It happens automatically because our need to be in control is so strong, and so the guilt comes automatically. Now what is guilt? Guilt means that you've done something wrong, so there's self-hate in it. Okay? This is where self-compassion is missing here, because when there is self-hate, when there is guilt, you don't want to forgive yourself. I don't deserve it, I'm bad, I've done something wrong, or I'm not good enough, you see. So anyway, so this causes a lot of contradictory behavior. Now the most interesting thing from the spiritual aspect to understand is this, that people confuse consciousness with awareness. And these two are not the same. In fact, there's a vast difference between the two. But when you know the difference between the two and still see them as one, that's called the spiritually awakened state. Okay? So let's understand how each one is different than the other, and yet they're both the same. They complete each other. See, you are a human being, right? But one thing that sometimes we forget, or we just not well versed in it, is that the human is consciousness. The being is awareness. But we miss out on the awareness part, which is so incredibly mind-boggling, which we'll go into, and I hope that you join in with questions. Now, what is consciousness? Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is mind. Your thoughts are part of consciousness. Your personality is consciousness. Your past is consciousness. Time and space was created by consciousness. Okay, so consciousness is everything. But it is also what creates a split, a duality. The duality came when consciousness was born. For example, I am conscious of you. And therefore there's a duality between you and me. Whereas awareness is oneness. Okay, so but let's stick with consciousness. So consciousness is everything that we can see in the world. Your body is consciousness. Now most people believe that the body is very, very tangible, very real. But the body is made up of trillions and trillions of cells. These cells are invisible to the naked eye, but they carry a memory. You see, they are consciousness, a DNA. So because consciousness appears as tangible things, we really begin to believe that this is reality, instead of the source from which everything came about. We forget about the source, which is being. Okay, are you with me so far? So this is what consciousness is. Now, here is one thing also that is mind-boggling about consciousness. It is all imagination. Think of anything that you're conscious of, which is not imagination. Can you? Everything is, yeah.
Is that because of what you think it is? So you're imagining it?
Yeah, because of what you think it is, because consciousness is made up of what you think. How you view life. If you take 100 people, how they view life, each person of that 100 sees the world differently according to their viewpoint. Okay? Now that viewpoint is what you're conscious of. It is your consciousness. So now we're going to be talking about awareness. And awareness is an entirely different thing. And then you bring them together. Okay? When you bring them together, that's the real knowing in the heart. But we'll go into that. So you're more or less set about consciousness. Consciousness, so all psychology is about consciousness. When the movie The Secret came out, you've heard of the movie The Secret? Okay, that was about consciousness. It is achievement, attainment, accomplishment. It is going someplace. You see, it is time and space. Awareness is entirely different. Awareness has no time and space, has no beginning or end, and it cannot be understood by the human mind. So the only way that I can explain awareness now would be with different examples of this now moment, which is pure awareness. See, now awareness is now, this moment. Okay? And when we talk about this moment, we still think about the past and the future. No, now has no past or future. Did you know that now has no exit? Is there ever a time when now is not? Time knows no, awareness knows no beginning or end. It just is. And the reason why we get so confused and become paradoxical, not understanding the different paradoxes, is because the mind tries to figure it out. And there is no way that the mind can ever understand awareness. So when we talk about awareness, we're talking about something that truly staggers even the imagination, which is consciousness. For example, awareness, you can say that awareness is the now itself. When we talk about awareness, immediately the mind says, oh, yeah, I know. Okay, there's no way that you can ever know awareness. Awareness is too mind-boggling. It's beyond, again I repeat, beyond imagination. For example, let me give you an example what awareness is, because awareness has two functions. Okay? It is self-recognizing and self-organizing. Now, self-recognizing means this. Listen to this now, how mind-boggling this is. It is self-recognizing. Okay? How do you know you exist?
Because I'm here.
Okay, because you're here. How do you know you are here? Because you're aware you are here. Aware you are here. Are you understanding awareness now? Self-recognizing. There are 7 billion humans on this earth, and they're all the same one awareness. Now, isn't that a kick in the pants? that is absolutely staggering, right? There's only one awareness. What you're aware of becomes thought. So don't confuse. You see, consciousness is thought about something. Consciousness is always conscious of something. All experiences are consciousness. But awareness is not an experience. Awareness is experiencing, the witness. Okay? So let me give you an example how staggering and how powerful this awareness is. No, let me do the other part, self-organizing. Now, when we talk about self-organizing, self-recognizing we already discussed, right? Everybody recognizes that they exist. But when you recognize that you exist, it is awareness of your existence that you're aware of. But you think that awareness is yours. It isn't. It's the source. It's the oneness, appearing as 7 billion humans. Now we go into awareness as self-organizing. Wow. Now, feel it out, please. Because this moment right now, if you begin to feel the power of this moment and what it implies, to see what is in this moment, is in itself, gives you a mystical experience. Okay? Now we're talking about self-organizing awareness. One of you stand up. Just stand up. Okay. Are you feeling dizzy?
No.
Is your hair turning around?
No.
Okay, sit down. Thank you. Thank you for volunteering. Now, why did I say that? Because now itself combines the earth rotating at 20 miles per second. Yet you stood up and you didn't get dizzy. Your head didn't go around, and then you might say, why? Because of gravity. What is gravity? It's another beautiful word for self-organizing element. See the power of that? See, another thing, you know, how many women got pregnant, had children? Maybe 2 or 3 billion in this world, okay? Now, I've had, excuse me, I've had pregnant women come to see me for sessions. And one thing they all say is, oh, it's so beautiful, it's kicking, can you feel it? It's wonderful to have life. But there is one thing nobody ever says. Who is it that directs and creates those eyes, that brain, inside me, in my womb? What gives it a heartbeat? What gives it blood circulation? What gives it skin? What gives it all these things? How does it all come together? Who's doing it? Self-organizing principle. Are you beginning to see now how now is the greatest force there is when you begin to look at what is? You see, when you begin to look at what is, there's something else that begins to happen too. Okay? You begin to see that what is so incredible that you're filled with wonder. People are self-conscious. They think about themselves all the time. And in that way, they die spiritually. But if you look at the very miracle called you and everyone else, and we're all one, you begin to see something you never saw before. For example, let's talk about weather, let's talk about seasons, let's talk about time, let's talk about night and day. You know what causes all these things? The rotation of the earth around the sun. Who's doing it? Did you know that the rotation of the earth around the sun goes 365 times, because each one is 24 hours? We call it, give it 24 hours, right? To create time. And then the moment it returns back to complete a year, it goes in precision, so precise that it's, again, it's mind staggering. Okay, who's doing it? Who's doing this? You see? So this is where we begin to understand the power principle of awareness. Awareness has been called God. It has been called unconditional love. It has been called the primal intelligence. It has been called the source, the beginningless and endless state of being. You see? If you don't like these labels, don't call it anything. Just call it the wonder. That is the source itself, the oneness. You see? But that's one thing all physicists right now agreeing is the unified field principle from which everything happens. All happens from one single source. And that's called holographic essence. You see, we're all holographic being. You know what holographic means, eh? Okay, the smallest fragment contains the whole.
To see the world in a grain of sand.
Very good. See, yeah. And a drop of water, if you magnify it 1,000,000 times, you see another universe. Okay? So in other words, everything is connected. Everything is interdependent, interrelated. You see? Interconnected. It's all one, appearing as different things. And it's made up of awareness is. Awareness is. It's not good or bad, it doesn't do this or doesn't do that. You see, because many people say, well, yeah, awareness, every awakened person says oneness does everything. And it's the truth. But then when a person is depressed, they say, well, oneness is doing it? Yes and no. Oneness is making you feel that the world is vast. But when a person does not love themselves, when a person feels small like an ego, that oneness becomes very depressing and lonely, isn't it? The oneness didn't give you depression. The oneness made you know that it is, it just is. But your interpretation, because you think you're separate from it, becomes what we call a negative. You see? So what we call loneliness and depression and anxiety, any form of fear, these are not wrong. They become disastrous when we make them wrong. All they are is a different interpretation of the messages we're getting from allness. Are you with me? This is so beautiful, because if you understand this, this is what mental health is. This is what peace of mind is. Okay? The reason people don't have peace of mind, the reason people suffer in the world and there are wars and strivings is because we feel separate, not only from everything. We feel all separate from each other. Another thing too is that the world is consciousness, and we make consciousness so real that we forget about awareness. You see? Awareness you cannot really talk about because, like we said, you know, it just is. It is not something. So you cannot define it. It has no way to explain it. So this is where the beautiful thing about awareness comes. So how do you employ awareness now so that you reach stability, you awaken to the wonder that is, to be able to see what is in the moment, like we already done with the pregnant lady, with the world rotating, and with the movement of whatever. Okay, everything is happening in consciousness. So the key point in awareness is to become aware. Now here is the secret, and I learned it after many, many years of doing hypnotherapy. I didn't learn it in psychology. I learned it because one day I just woke up and realized there was nothing to learn. Because all knowing is in awareness. We don't know anything. The human mind only knows consciousness, that which it creates out of itself as an imagination. But the real knowing is not individual at all. There is nothing to know, because the real knowing is in awareness itself. But awareness is not something. I'm repeating myself here. Okay? Are there any questions up to this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to tap into or
Yes.
return to the awareness?
Yes, and thank you. This is our next step. Okay? Yeah. So how can we employ awareness? You see, the mind is always trying to control, always trying to be boss, always trying to, because we want to be right, we have a need to control, we have a need to get our own way. But what if that was for a moment relaxed and we allow awareness to take over? How do you allow awareness to take over? One day I had a guy who was extremely addicted to smoking. And he said, Burt, he said, could you hypnotize me so that I stop smoking? And I said, first of all, I wouldn't want to do that. I said, because first of all, if you are addicted to smoking, it means you feel a part of you is so addicted mentally and physically, is that hypnosis won't really work some of the time anyway, because the subconscious is saying, the conscious mind is saying, I want to stop smoking, but the subconscious is saying, no, I need that smoke. Why? Because people who smoke are people who suffer stress, naturally. So here I am, I'm so stressful, oh, I need a smoke. Oh, isn't that beautiful? You see? So you smoke and it relaxes you. But the thing about any addiction is that when you do it because you're under stress, your body and mind starts to want it and need it. And that's how an addiction happens with alcohol, with drugs, whatever. When it becomes an addiction, you become totally unconscious. You reach out for it without even knowing what you're doing. Oh, I need to smoke, or I need that coffee in the morning, otherwise I can't be happy, I can't concentrate. Or I need to do this, I need a drink, otherwise I won't feel myself. You see? So we have relied so much on things that our body actually craves it, and then we become slaves to it. So then it starts to deteriorate your health, it starts to play havoc with your state of mind. So then you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I need to stop. So you go to someone like Burt or whatever, and you say, can you make me stop? You see, but nobody can make you stop unless you really want to. And chances are you don't want to. Because now it has reached more than just consciousness, it has reached your subconscious mind that relies on it. Are you with me? So even if consciously you want to overcome something, the subconscious is saying, no way. And that's why we get so stuck and don't wake up, because the subconscious mind is saying, this is who I am, this is my past, this is my identity. And we don't look farther, we don't look at the wonder of existence itself, of the miracle of being. This is not a philosophy, it's not a religion, it's not somebody made up. It is something that everybody knows the moment you become quiet inside. And you begin to feel these things. You begin to know. Because awareness is the only knowing for sure that you have. Anything else is just information. It's just intellectual. You see, you can never know for sure. Awareness is for sure once you get in touch with it. So anyway, so I had this guy who was very addicted. So I wrote to him, I said, first of all, if you're totally sincere in wanting to quit, do the following steps. 1, when When you're very quiet and you have this craving, your subconscious mind, your conscious mind says, I shouldn't smoke. But your subconscious mind will start creating these visions of you smoking and relaxing and having a good time, blah, 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 you see? So naturally, you go to that craving. So I said, don't give up smoking. What you do is do two things. One, when you smoke next time, because smoking is unconscious, right? You go on puffing away while you're talking on the cell phone, you're having a coffee, looking at someplace else, right? It's unconscious. All addictions are unconscious. But this time, be conscious. Feel every puff. Feel the hand reaching for that cigarette. Feel the smell. Feel the smoke coming out of your mouth or your nose, whatever it comes out of. You know, and be fully conscious. And then the next day, cut down one cigarette and continue being conscious. Within even a few days, less than a week, he wouldn't even hear of smoking. He just quit. And I have found this system works every time. When you employ awareness, miracles happen. But you've got to employ awareness completely. Okay? So I'd like you to ask questions about how to employ awareness. This means you don't employ your preconceived ideas or your beliefs or your conditioning into it. You see something as it actually is. You see only what is. And when you allow yourself to see what is, you change. Suppose a person is depressed. You see? And I had a person who was depressed and she got cured in one session. It's an isolated case. It doesn't happen with everybody. But she realized that depression is helplessness. And then I asked her, be aware of that helplessness. Just be aware of it. How there's nothing you can do. Oh, she wouldn't have it. She just had to do something. But finally, she understood after 3 days, and she was very persistent. I loved her for it. After 3 days she was persistent, she wrote me back and she said, depression is gone. The point is that she became aware of what is. What is a feeling of helplessness and hopelessness, and just be aware of it without trying to get rid of it, without trying to change it, without trying to fix it, without making it wrong. Now that is the key. Don't make anything wrong, because what you make wrong creates guilt. Guilt creates self-hate. Self-hate makes you repeat it because you keep thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. Okay? So are we understanding what it means to be aware? Okay, ask any questions, please.
Yeah, in the case about the cigarette smoking, I'm just wondering if you could go into the little link between being mindful of it or the awareness. How
You
that
see,
helped
mindfulness, you see, there's another thing. Buddhists have come up with a meditation called mindfulness. Now, very few people know how to do mindfulness properly. The mind is going all over the place, but it's better than nothing. But mindfulness, in its true essence, is becoming mindful of what is going on, and you are detached observer of your mind. You become aware of what is going on. Well, the moment you come to the point where you're aware of what's going on, but you don't make it good or bad, right or wrong, you don't try to get rid of it, you don't try to change it, you don't try to fix it, nothing. You just be aware of what is. Wow, things begin to happen automatically. You don't even know what's happening.
So when he was aware of himself smoking, of the sensation, how did he help? How did he get help? Did he become like?
He lost all desire for smoking. Why? Because he brought the habit into consciousness, into awareness. Through awareness, he brought it in full consciousness. You see, when we act in emotional pain, you know what emotional pain is? It is all resistance, of course, but you know what it is? Going unconscious. Did you ever lose your temper? What does it mean, lose your temper? Lose yourself. You become totally unconscious. You see? There are people who became so violent, they started breaking up things that they loved. You don't even know what you're doing. You go unconscious. So the more negative you become, the darker you become, the more unconscious you become. So the healing of that is to bring it into awareness. Bring it into full awareness. You see? But the key point in bringing it into awareness, it means that you don't change anything with your mind. Because if your mind says, I wonder if it's going to work. You see, the mind is always, you see, the point is to bring it requires practice, yes. That's why mindfulness is such a beautiful meditation. When you practice being aware of what your mind is doing, and you don't try to direct it, you become totally aware of what is going on. Okay? That very awareness itself is the healer. Is the healer. Here I point to this guy here. I won't mention his name because maybe you don't want to. Okay. One time I said to him, I said, could you come over here, sit next to me. And I put my finger on his forehead. And the moment I did that, he started to shake. Kundalini, you know, the energy started to move. He started to shake, right? And he had quite an experience. And after that, there was more clarity coming back into his life. So the point is, why did that happen? Well, first of all, he trusted me, which is essentially, it wasn't me that did it. It was actually he that did it. I merely acted, okay? But he trusted me. And that trust, which became trust in himself, awakened a part of him. Okay? So at that point, it became quite a thing. All I said to him, I said, feel the finger. Feel nothing else but the finger. Feel the pressure of the finger. Feel the finger moving. Feel the moisture of the finger against the forehead. By going in that and talking about that, I made him aware and stopped his thinking. Are you with me? Because I stopped his thinking at the moment, he became pure awareness for just a few seconds. It was enough to awaken something in him. It didn't bring awakening, but although it happened to Eckhart Tolle. Did you know that? You've heard of Eckhart Tolle, right? The Power of Now. And I love the guy. He's sincere, he's beautiful, he's real, he's modest. He was on deep anxiety, deep depression. He was going nuts, actually. He went to a state, in a very dark state. And one day he said to himself, I can't live with myself anymore. Okay? And he said it a few times throughout the evening. I can't live with myself, I can't live with myself. And all of a sudden something stopped. And he became aware. I can't live with myself? Are there two of me? And a part of him became aware of this whole structure of what he's feeling. The next day, the birds were singing, he was just a totally different. And years went by, and he never lost his peace, never lost his clarity. That's the awakened state. He totally awakened to pure awareness. Now that doesn't mean he's pure aware all the time. That doesn't mean he doesn't get irritated or angry. You see? But he never gets caught because he knows the difference between consciousness and awareness, and the two work together. Human and being are integrated at that point. And that integration, that perfect balance and harmony is peace itself. You see? So this is where I'd like to, now, here, oh, I forgot to record this, but it's being recorded there. Hold on a second. Okay. Now, these are a few of the things that people have said, which are interesting, but I'd like to get your feedback on this. First of all, let's cover some paradox, okay? Someone said to me, there's nothing to find, and yet we can't help seeking to get there, wherever there is. Isn't that a common one? Paradox, isn't it? Okay, do you understand the paradox now by understanding consciousness and awareness? If not, we'll talk about it in a moment, okay? Another one is, there's nothing to know. And yet we try to conclude, judge, figure out, and gain information in order to know. But whatever you get to know, through reading, through studying or whatever, is just words, more words. I get so many people writing me all the time, Burt, I've done so much reading, I've studied so much. I know it all by heart. In fact, if people write me with problems, I know what to say to them. But I can't live this truth. I can't live it. Why aren't I? Because you see that you brought it down all into information, but not heart knowing. And only heart knowing will change you, because there's nothing to know. It is the awareness that knows through you, and that's peace. Because it becomes alive in you, but it's not something you know, it is knowing. You see? And the mind can't understand that. But one wrote me the following. He said, thank you. Someone wrote me and he said, step by step I'm getting somewhere. Simultaneously, I'm ending up being nowhere. That's very true. Because the more you get to know, the more you realize you don't know, until finally there's nothing to know. And that's when you know. Okay? For example, Ramana Maharshi used to say, ask, who am I? And people ask themselves, who am I? Who am I? They spend years and years and years. And what happens is, do they find out who they are by asking, who am I? Don't say anything.
Well, they find out there's no I that they're looking for.
Yeah, there's no answer to it. When you ask, who am I, there's no answer. Nobody gets an answer when they ask it. I asked it for so many years, and I always think there's going to be some answer. There's no answer, because there's no I. There's no me. You are awareness, appearing as this form. And you made it so personal. You see? But you are everything. You're nothing, and you're everything. You see? The greatest fear of humanity is losing their identity. When they realize they never had an identity, the fear drops. And then they find that they do have an identity. It's called pure awareness. Because you're no one, and yet everyone. Are you seeing the paradox here? Okay. We go consciousness and awareness. Now, these are some of the questions people have asked, and I made them into a single sentence, so that because they write me a lot. I guess sometimes people write me a page or 2 pages, you know. Okay, 1. Who is it that knows? When you really know something beyond a shadow of a doubt, you're absolutely sure. You know you exist, for example. You know that for sure, right? You might say, because I'm here, but the fact is because you're aware you are here. See? And awareness is self-recognizing, so it is awareness that knows, isn't it? Only awareness knows. You cannot know anything. But when you see that your basic nature is awareness, that's what changes everything. You see, then there's nothing not to know. Some people say to me, Burt, you talk like you're such an authority. How do I know that you're not pulling my leg? How do I know that you're not lying to me? You see, it's something very hard to convince. I know that what I'm saying to you is the absolute truth. I know it beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I cannot convince you until you put that into practice and begin to see through awareness itself that it cannot be any other way. You are aware. Who am I? Who am I? I am here. I am now. I am aware. You see? Ask yourself, who am I right now? And you find you're aware. All you are is awareness. You cannot even be aware of your body because unless you're in ill health. But if you're healthy, you're not even aware of the body, right? One time there was a physical fitness expert, and he said, how do you know when you're perfectly fit? And he said, easy. You're not even aware you have a body. When you run, you feel you're flying. You see? It's the same way in spirituality. You know that you are when there is no one who knows. You just are. I know this defeats the mind, but are we understanding this?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
About, okay, so you spoke about the need to know as a young, or to be in control as a child, right?
Right.
So, okay, today, I feel that consciousness is my need to know, and even in that, then I'm thinking I know what awareness is.
Mm-hmm.
So is that conscious or is that awareness?
That's using your consciousness.
So then
You cannot know what awareness is. Only awareness knows what is.
So
Okay, let me give you an example here. I know I've used it before, but there's a few people who are new here and you might hearing it for the first time. Okay, there's no one who knows, but there's only knowing. A boy is playing ball. Are you with me? And he's having fun. He's having so much fun that when his mother sees him having so much fun, she's delighted, and she goes over to him and she says, are you having fun, son? And then he has to stop to answer her. The moment he stops to answer her, all fun is gone. So who was having fun? We're talking about awareness here, okay? We're going to see how awareness is everything.
because he had to stop and think if he was having fun. It was
He had to stop and think. When he was having fun, there was no one having fun. It was fun itself, enjoying itself. Watch children play when they're really, really enjoying themselves. It is awareness playing through them. It is the oneness playing through them.
So it's just like aliveness.
It's alive. Awareness is that aliveness that doesn't stand back and say, oh, I'm alive. Aliveness is. There's no one to know aliveness. There's only being aliveness. The word being, again, is awareness. Okay? There's only being. When you're in love with someone and you look at them, you forget yourself. There's absence of self. That's what falling in love is. The moment you start to come into the picture, I love her, you begin to think about it, you begin to dream about her, and then the fear comes. What if I lose her? What if this happens? Oh my gosh, what if she doesn't love me back? You see what I mean? Fear always comes the moment you become conscious of you. But when you're not conscious of you, that's pure unconditional love called awareness. Awareness is pure unconditional love. Now, you begin to see how beautiful the source is. Our true home is the source. It is all love. You see? The sense of wrong doesn't exist in reality. The sense of sin doesn't exist in reality. The sense of shame and guilt only exists in conditioned consciousness. Awareness knows nothing about that. When we start to live through awareness by being aware, moment to moment, okay, something starts to happen inside us and we become alive. We feel so alive. You begin to fall in love with everyone. I'm in love with everyone. I never realized what love was until about the year 2000 when I felt I had a conflicted relationship, and all of a sudden I realized Burt isn't even there to know anything. There's nothing to know. And there was that feeling, there's that knowing. You see? That knowing that there's only is. There's only now. And everything became clear. Everything became automatic. Am I going over your heads, or are we understanding somewhat?
That's where you want to be, over the heads.
Oh, that's right.
So that's okay.
As long as you bring awareness over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's our suffering that often brings us to awareness.
And why is that?
Because there's a sense of something's wrong. And so you long for something else. And
then you begin to believe or know something in your heart, there's got to be a better way than this. And there's a moment when you just begin to allow it. You don't despair and break down. That's called insanity, incidentally. That's why people end up in an insane asylum. Because there isn't that awareness as a saving grace. But if a little awareness seeps in, balance starts to restore itself. Something starts to happen. But we don't actually do it. The ego doesn't do anything. It happens as we employ awareness. There are 7 beautiful words in the English language. They're the most beautiful I've ever heard. It's called be still and know I am God. You've heard of these, right? These, and it says it all right there. See? So why is being still? Because when you are still, you stop trying to figure out, to conclude, to judge. You see? And then when you do, you become very still. In a moment of stillness, awareness comes to the surface. Go outside. Watch a tree. Any tree at all. And be still and look at it. And then remove the word T-R-E-E. Just remove the label and keep looking at it. Don't call it anything, and just keep looking. Maybe 10 minutes and it starts to change and comes alive. You begin to see it in ways you never saw it before. See, now we're bringing awareness. We're looking, we're seeing, we're listening. You see? So, when we are aware, no, the first question is, and these are all different people that asked it, but it's amazing how similar. But I figured they were intelligent questions, so I just wanted to bring them down. Where does awareness come from?
It just is.
Okay.
I mean, it's the essence of...
Yeah. What would you say, the rest of you? Where does awareness come from? Where does awareness come from?
attention.
Hmm?
Space or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
Attention?
Where does awareness come from?
It doesn't feel like it comes, it doesn't move.
Very good. It never comes, it never moves. It isn't anything. It is everything. It just is. How can you understand that with your mind? It has no beginning, no end. It always was, always is. It's endless and beginningless. It just is. You see? The very essence of life. And then it's been called many names. Many religions have been built around it. But everybody that awakens is no longer following a particular ritual or a belief. All beliefs start to fall away, and there's only love. You see? Because then everything becomes clear. So, so awareness doesn't come from anywhere. Because awareness it is nothing, it cannot be defined. But you might say, how can I know that? Stop, become very still. Aren't we here now? Isn't life around? Even if it's a dream, there's still a dream. So it must have come from some source, right? So when you see, what I'm saying here is that if you become very still and look and see, okay, it will start to come to you. It will start to come on its own. You don't need to do anything. But the mind is always saying, but what if I'm wrong? But what if you know, blah, 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 and keeps on going round and round in circles. Doubt is a killer. So many people say, Burt, I've studied so much and I graduated, you know, PhD and all this, and I'm still, my life is not fulfilled. Okay? Because they're still in their head, trying to figure it out, trying to conclude, trying to reach answers with the mind. Awareness is the heart. Heart means core, essence of you, you see? In the heart you always know. Suppose you're feeling depressed right now. Okay? Okay. Pretend you're feeling depressed. Okay. So now I ask you, how would you prefer to feel? Now you're depressed. How prefer to feel instead of depression?
Happy.
Very good. Why? Why would you prefer to feel happy?
Because I think it's better.
Because it's your true nature.
Yeah.
You see? And you see, the heart knows. Even if you're depressed, the heart knows that happiness is your true nature, depression isn't. You see, that doesn't mean you have to go around saying, what do I prefer instead of this? That's just to trigger, to know that the heart always knows. Always. The heart is always love. Okay? The core of you, the essence of you.
So, what makes me be me? In the sense awareness is?
Consciousness. Awareness is. You can say it is unique, you can say it is this, you can say it is, but nothing means anything when to describe awareness.
Right.
But what makes you unique, you, is consciousness. You are the byproduct of everything you've ever experienced. Millions and millions of experiences, not only in this lifetime, but lifetimes before. Okay, you are a product of everything you've ever experienced. And the way you look is the way consciousness has to manifest. So there's unique. You know, we all have faces. We all have eyes, nose, mouth. You know, some of us look actually the same, nose, eyes, and mouth. But when you make up the face, there isn't another face exactly like yours, unless it happens to be a real twin, you know. But even then there's a difference. So you are unique. See, that's another thing. That's the holographic essence of it. Every fingerprint is unique. Everything is unique. Everything about you is unique. There isn't any part of you that is exactly like another. Okay? And that uniqueness, you don't lose it. Because it's consciousness. Consciousness and awareness join. Become one. But when you bring awareness into that consciousness, wow, now you are radiant, now you are alive. Now that uniqueness really becomes magnetic, you know, beautiful, wonderful. That doesn't mean that you're in your ego now. Because ego separates, you see. Uniqueness is not separate. Uniqueness is uniqueness. For example, take the ocean. On the surface of the ocean, there might be billions of waves. Each one is unique, each one is separate, each one is different. But yet, it's all the same water. So in this case, the water is the awareness, and the different waves are the holographic essence of consciousness. Is that a good example? Yeah.
A wave becomes enlightened when it realizes it's the ocean.
It's the ocean, right? Very good. So you become fully awake when you realize that you don't lose your uniqueness. You never do that. But what happens that within that uniqueness, you see that you are part of everything. You are everything.
So it's kind of like the awakening of consciousness equals awareness. And it becomes...
You see, you are right there, because consciousness is the only thing that changes. Awareness is. So when consciousness becomes fully aware of awareness, and awareness begins to take over, okay, so that is the, to answer your question. So when awareness takes over completely, that's called the awakened state. And now you see that you don't do anything, it is awareness doing everything through you. But even though the real doer is awareness, yet awareness is never doing anything. It just is.
There's nothing to do.
It just is. And in that isness lies perfection, harmony. You see?
The observer self, is that awareness?
That's awareness. Yeah, the witness, observer self, yeah. You're aware. That's the observing self. You're aware. Now, the moment you make a judgment about what you're aware, that's consciousness.
Sometimes I wonder what that different view looks like from consciousness and from awareness, but it is the same thing.
Ultimately, it's the same thing, because the only way that awareness can manifest, not that it needs to manifest, it is, because oneness, when we were in oneness without form, we still knew we were. Because awareness is. You can never not be aware. Do you remember a time when you were not? Is there a time when you were not? You can't remember because there was never such a thing. Awareness is. See, if you try to figure it out, you're already lost it. It can't be. But every living thing is awareness. But awareness is not something. It is. And everything that appears is awareness.
Consciousness is something.
Consciousness is something. Awareness is not something. But consciousness cannot exist without awareness.
So would it be accurate to say the absence of thinking is awareness?
The absence of thinking is awareness. Yeah. That doesn't mean you can stop thinking, but you can stop indulging in it. You can stop getting involved in it. You can stop making thought real. You see? But thinking is always there, because without thinking there is no world. The world appears very, very real because the very substance of the world is consciousness. But consciousness is imagination. You see? See, like for example, scientists have discovered that matter is not real at all. There's nothing there. And then people says, but I touched it, I feel it, I know it's there, I bumped into it. If a car hits me, I get squashed. Okay? See, what happens is that we make the senses that are in the body as the actual reality. So when we think that what we feel, we think it's actually there, but the senses is what's making it seem that something is there. But then you might say, the senses are in the body. No, the senses are in consciousness. So even if the body drops, you can still have an out-of-body experience and still have the senses. I had an out-of-body experience. I had it when I was 17, and everything was still. I knew I was thinking, I knew I was feeling, I saw everything. So you see, so the senses are not just, the ears are there as instruments for hearing, but the hearing is done by consciousness. So is seeing. Quite a few years ago, my eyes were getting very bad. And the doctor said to me that your glaucoma is so bad that, if it goes worse, you could get blind, So it was very, very bad. So they gave me drops, eye drops, and they were making me sick. They didn't agree with me. I was having an allergic reaction to these drops. So I stopped. I stopped having them. And I said, well, I'm consciousness. You see? And to make a long story short, I stopped going to the doctor, and now my eyes have improved. How? I don't know. I had also macular degeneration. You see, besides glaucoma. And this is fact. Now I do not see as well as you do, you know. I don't see, you know, all the details of your face, for example, although I can feel your energy. But my eyes have improved tremendously from, they're getting better, okay, most of the time. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't go to a doctor. If your energy is to go to the doctor, then you've got to go. You cannot defy it, because then you feel bad. But you have to be ready. But when you get ready, you realize everything is awareness. Everything. You see, there's nothing but awareness. But you cannot understand it with the mind. It is the absolute, the ultimate love of your true nature. The foundation of everything. Now there are many methods coming out where you employ the awareness technique. Did you ever hear of Dr. Kinslow? Have you?
No.
Yeah. He's a German guy. He's wonderful. Anyway, he awakened, and he employs awareness to bring instant healing. And his success is phenomenal. He's traveling around the world. He's written books, The Key to Instant Healing, and you see.
How do you spell his last name? How do you spell it?
Kinslow. K-I-N-S-L, Kinslow, L-O-W. Yeah, I forgot his first name.
That's okay.
But he's on the internet anyway, you know. So now you might say, what causes different things to the body? Consciousness is created of everything that ever goes wrong. Okay? The moment you make something wrong, it manifests in the body. The Course in Miracles says that the body is neutral. It all happens in the mind. So if you make something wrong, the body reflects something wrong. You see? And so, anyway, I think there was one more here. When we are evolving, is it awareness or consciousness that develops?
Consciousness.
Very good. Good. It makes me feel good to hear you say that, because now I know that at least you've listened. Awareness is, nothing changes awareness. Awareness is perfection. Awareness is being. Awareness is holiness. See, the word holiness comes from the word whole, complete. No beginning or end. It defies, again, any description or definition. But when you become aware, stop for a few moments and see the wonder of now. Begin to feel it. And then as you begin to feel it, you begin to see and feel things you never felt before. That's how awakening starts to happen. Because you're activating awareness, not thinking about it. See, thought is always about it. If you think about this, you're thinking about this. If you think about love, that's not love. You can write about love. You can write poetry about love. You can write books about love. You can movies about love. But until you feel love, you don't know what love is. And you can only know it to the extent that you feel it. You see? So in other words, the real feeling is called pure feeling, is awareness. Awareness is that pure state. And that pure state, the yogis call it Satchitananda. It's bliss, that pure state. So are there any questions from what we covered? Are you more or less now see the difference between consciousness and awareness? Consciousness is a movement. It's a becoming process. Awareness is being. But the consciousness, or the human part, is always becoming, always seeking, always wanting, always needing. But needing and wanting what? Itself. But it doesn't know that it's being it's chasing. So it chases after $1 million. It chases after power. It chases after sex. Nothing wrong with those things. But it chases after things because it thinks that it's going to give her this happiness, this love. But love and happiness is itself already in you as awareness. You don't need to chase anywhere to get it. And that's the integration of human and being, you see? The oneness.
So does it ever become one? The human and the being?
The human being are always one.
Well, one as in, yes, one. But,
Oh, I think I know what you're saying.
yeah.
No, there is still, awareness is still timeless. Consciousness is time and space.
So it's almost just a choice in the moment.
No, you don't
Like,
need
you
to
know
make,
what I'm
you
saying
don't
is-
need to make choices.
What I'm
You
saying,
need-
consciousness will always be wanting to become more conscious.
Yes,
Always.
consciousness is always wanting more. Always wanting more. Awareness doesn't want more because awareness is complete. So therefore, when you understand the dynamics of both, seeking stops automatically because there's nothing to find, there's nothing to do. As consciousness tries to drive you and tries to make things, that's fine. But because awareness has awakened in you, there's no real drive or desire to achieve anything more. You're happy where you are. But there's nothing wrong in getting something and achieving something and enjoying it. But there's always that clarity that you are complete.
There's nothing wrong with getting involved in the process, but don't get wrapped up in the result.
That's very good. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You don't look for the outcome or the result, right? But the process is fine. That's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah. So if people says, well, I shouldn't plan then for the future. No. If planning is in your part of your enjoyment, why not? But don't get caught into the outcome of it or the result of it. You see? You just do what has to be done and then leave it up to awareness to determine the result.
I'd like to share an observation. We have a cat too. I've noticed that they tend to, like Rushi, they tend to be, when they're not hungry, then they're quite content to be in the moment.
They're very content.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
seem like, they don't
Yeah.
think like we do.
No, they don't. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's quite a happy cat. He's 13 years old, but he still plays like a kitten at times, you know.
Yes, they're playfulness.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then, like
yeah.
times that they
And
can
if
be
I get close to him, you know, and for example, you know, touch him, he starts to purr automatically. Right, sweetie? Hey. So- But I can do anything. It doesn't bother him at all. You know. No, I can play with his tail. Right, sweetie? Hey. Yeah. And the cat is good because I love dogs. I just simply adore dogs. But they require so much work, you know. Taking them out, washing them. I'm lazy. You know, he doesn't need care. Just food on the floor and that's it. You know.
They don't
And
need so much attention, right? That's
Hmm?
why they don't need so much attention.
no,
That's why
no,
they're
he
content.
does though.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, because when I get up in the morning, he just wants to play.
Oh.
Yeah, I do Qigong every morning, and he joins me in it.
My cat used to join me for yoga on the deck.
Really?
Yeah,
Your cat?
yeah. I go to sit down and do some poses, and there's two cats already there doing stretches.
Yeah. When I do Qigong, he lies on the floor and stretches too. You know, he enjoys it. Anyway, beautiful people. Namaste.
Namaste.